Hi, thanks for joining me. We're going to be going through the Knight of Cups in this tutorial. So this section of the videos is all to do with the court cards. Last time we talked about the Knight of Wands, which was this card. The sub-elements of the Knight of Wands were fire and fire. So basically he's all about action. With the Knight of Cups, we have a rather good-looking guy, very sort of romantic, sort of dreamy sort of card here. With the sub-elements of this card, we've got the element of fire, because it's a knight, and we have that mixed with water. So this water does give him some depth. But fire and water don't particularly get on, so he is a mixture of different qualities which never the twain shall meet, so to speak. It does make him rather complicated. Also, further complicating it, or I don't really like to use the word complicated if we just say it further, adds colour then to his character. If we look at the three minor arcana cards which make him up, we have the 8 of Cups, we have the 9 of Cups, which is happiness, the 8 of Cups was indolence, and we have the 7 of Swords. So these three cards are derived from the deckhands which the Knight of Cups rules. So we'll see that more in detail in the next section. So really there are two cards here which are rather weak, which are the 8 of Cups and the 8 of Cups and the 7 of Swords. Although we do have a redeeming quality in the 9 of Cups here, which is a very good card. So looking on the net, we have all sorts of meanings for this card. Mr. Crowley is always typically focusing on the more negative qualities, and as I said, I think one of the reasons why he does this is just to move people away from the personal and into the spiritual. He doesn't really want us to get too attached to anything permanent on the physical level of things. He really wants us to move out of the world and its stickiness and attachments, and wants us to move beyond that, and he does that in his own particular way. So with the Knight of Cups, I've heard him mentioned as being, you know, really loyal and what have you, and he's there for the long term, but he really can't be, because the fire element of him makes him impermanent, and also the two cards that make him up, 2 of the 3 cards that make him up are pretty weak. So we'll have a look at the meanings of this and the symbology of this in the next section. Probably the Knight of Cups I would describe as someone who represents like a summer holiday romance, whereby it's really intense, it can be really deep, and it's like it's going to last forever, but it doesn't, and yet it here he is. He represents something that has, albeit been brief, but it's very meaningful in your life, but it doesn't last. So there's a bit of a dreaminess quality about it. This card rules 1/3 Aquarius and 2/3 Pisces, so Pisces tells you it all. Okay, we'll go on to the next section and have a look at what the deeper meanings behind this card are. Probably the quick look at the Rider-Waite version. This is a variation of the Rider-Waite deck, so it's a bit more colourful than the original card was. But again, I've got to say, that's quite a nice card. Okay, so see you in the next section. Okay, we're looking at the Knight of Cups. So if you follow this little hand here. We see the King of Cups, and it's the same for the Knight. He rules over 3 of the minor arcana cards. And for the Knight of Cups we have the 7 of Swords, which is futility, and that is the mutable part of Aquarius. And we've got the 8 of Cups and the 9 of Cups, which are the first and second deckhands of Pisces. So he's 1/3 Aquarius and he rules 1/3 of Aquarius and 2/3 of Pisces. So with Pisces, as we know, we've got a lot of sensitivity in this card. So we'll go on to the chap himself, and we'll have a little peek at the card. Again, lovely looking card here. What have we got? Well, basically he's a winged Knight of Cups. These are his wings. He's going in the opposite direction to the Knight of Wands, and he's the only court card who does not have a helmet. So he rides a white horse and he leaps over this peacock in the lower right corner here, and he's offering what is said to be the Holy Grail, and you've got a crab coming out of it. It's said that he's some sort of sea here in the bottom of the card and the background. So we'll just go into the bits and pieces of what he's actually made up of, and very simply we'll just go into the sub elements of the card here. So we've got the Knight of Cups, and we've got the Knight being the fiery aspect of the suit, as is all the Knights, and here we've got the mediating influence of water. So with water, fire and water basically don't particularly get on, but what water does is it dampens down the aspect of fire, also gives it a bit of a channel for its expression, if you like, but as you can probably intuit, that his nature is far different to the Knight of Wands, who's basically all fire. So he's more passive than the Knight of Wands. It can be said that because of this emotional quality to his nature, or this watery quality, he's more sensitive, he's got some emotional empathy, but the fire aspect means that he doesn't hang around, he basically does what he does and goes. So his connections are more of a surface thing. And the element of water allows him a certain creativity and inspirational quality. But on the other hand, as I said initially, fire and water really don't mix, so this is a card with some contradictions in, and that just follows him all the way through his personality. And again, court cards are difficult enough to decipher, but he is again a very much someone who has unresolved conflicts within him. Because we can see on the one hand we've got a really lovely looking card here that looks very inspirational, and it is, but on the other hand, if we look at the 3 cards that actually make that he actually rules, we've got the 7 of Swords, futility, we've got the Indolence, which is the 8 of Cups, again another weak card, so that's 2 weak cards, and we have got the Happiness card, which Crowley does describe the element of the planet of Jupiter here as being particularly weak, but nevertheless I think we've got to give credit for this being a positive attribute to his personality. So we'll just quickly go on to the Tetragrammaton here. and we do have the knight in the representing Yod there, I think, as I've spoken about before. Crowley states that, quoting him now, the knights represent the power of the letter Yod in the name. They're the most sublime, original, active part of the element, of the energy of the element, and for this reason they're represented on horseback and clad in armour. So the horseback and the armour represents their active nature. Their action is swift and violent, but transient. In the element of water, Crowley says, the knight corresponds to rain and springs. So you've got running water very fast, and then it's over. I don't have the Tree of Life diagram for this particular video, but again, the knights represent Hogmar. One thing I didn't mention with the Knight of Wands was that Hogmar is ruled by Neptune, and so this again bestows a quality of like intuition and a capacity for spirituality with the Knight of Cups. So he does have a very spiritual nature. And if we go to the image itself, the peacock here in some cultures is supposed to represent wisdom. It depends where you are in the world. In some cultures, I think in the West, it is supposed to represent ego and vanity, but in the East it's associated with like perception and vision. So the fact that he is jumping over the peacock with his white horse, again, so a certain amount of purity there, means that he has the quality of insight and vision. He's able to go beyond his ego, as identified in the West, and he's got the clarity and perception of vision. Being Pisces, again, that gives him a great spiritual vision, but the fact that again he's a knight means that he's not in our lives for very long. So again, this could represent in a reading a flash of inspiration, an inspirational time in our life, which was very productive emotionally and spiritually, and then it just left us. Or it could be a person that did the same thing. So I think with this card, the recurrent theme is that for us to go with the flow of the situation and not get too attached to this guy. So with the rest of the symbology there, again, he is the only knight that doesn't wear a helmet because he doesn't do battle. He doesn't really stay for very long to do any battle or very much interaction, so he's there and he's off. A green suit is to do with creativity, or his green armour, growth and renewal. The white horse, I think I mentioned, again, was the power of vision and purity, going beyond the ego. The crab, Cancer, nurturing, sensitivity. The crab is also associated with Isis, god of the to do with the sea. That is about it in terms of the symbology. Right, so for the next section we'll just look at the 3 cards that he rules. So again, this is more the shadow side to him. Futility, he does have periods where he doubts himself, doubts his motives, and often needs reassurance. Indolence, again, this can be very much associated with creative people, that they have times when they are just not very productive, can be lazy and really just got into themselves without producing anything. As I say, we've got the swamp here, which is basically energy that's not being moved on, so it's a lot of stagnation. And creative people sometimes cycle between periods of creativity and periods where they're just not inspired at all. And the last one, I think, as I mentioned, was the happiness card, which is his more positive side. So this talks about an inner sense of contentment, and radiating around and enriching the people around you. But again, this is a little bit like the Fool, because it's like an inner child quality, and it's not really a very deep set happiness. It's more of just a surface thing to inspire. It's not really born out of any particular big learning lesson over his lifetime. It's more of an innocent type of happiness, again associated with spirituality, but lacking in depth. So, I did say there was a lot to this card. The hexagram that Mr. Crowley associates with this card is the 54th hexagram, which is the trigrams thunder above lake. So thunder would be the first three lines of the upper trigram, and lake would be the lower three lines there. And he associates the Knight of Cups with this hexagram due to the conflicting parts of fire and water, because both of these are lake, you've got water, and thunder, you've obviously got the fire aspect. And he says, often this mental civil war ends in schizophrenia or melancholy madness. The abuse of stimulants and narcotics may precipitate the catastrophe. Well, that may be again very Piscean type qualities, because Pisces on its more negative side is associated with sort of drug abuse and that sort of thing, and we all know that what Mr. Crowley's background is, so this won't apply to the majority of people, I wouldn't have thought, but a rather extreme example of it. So on a lighter note, the hexagram actually means subordinate, or the marrying maiden, and it's referred metaphorically to the non-privileged concubine who remained subordinate in a marriage. So if we got an idea of subordination there, when I looked at this in depth, it's mainly to do with going with the flow of things. As I said, when he comes into your life, it's a case of just seeing him at face value and just allowing him to give you his gifts without getting attached, because if you get attached to him, then he's going to let you down, because he's a very complex personality, and sometimes you get the best of him, sometimes you don't. So the subordination aspect of it is to do with just going with the flow of this character and not trying to control him or make him out to be something that he isn't. Right, we'll just finish off with some divinatory meanings. And what we'll do is just go to the Celtic cross. I'm not going to go through each one because of time constraints, and so these again are just examples, but if the Knight of Cups appears in the heart of the situation, it could mean that we have long-term conflicts currently unresolved. If crossing card here, possible obstacle, not feeling valued, our voice is not being heard. Unknown influence, could be the person that we're having a relationship with is too shallow for us, but we're not really making that a conscious thing. Unknown influence can represent our subconscious, so it may be that if this is our partner, then we've not really coming to terms with the fact that we can't rely on this guy or girl. Near future would be periods of inspiration mixed with times of self-doubt and laziness. Guidance and warning. Need to take a step back from people you're attracting into your life. For instance, if this is The cups are to do with relationships most of all. So again, do we keep attracting this sort of person? Do we need to take a step back and see the type of people that we're attracting? And overall outcome. If the Knight of Cups goes in the 10th position, this could represent an inspirational time ahead, and just to go with the flow, and it will brighten up our life. And it's not going to be a long-lasting thing, but it will, or it does have the potential to make our life a little brighter, and we can draw more cards if necessary from there. Okay, I think that concludes this video. There's more in the notes on my website, but I think this is more than enough, so thank you very much for bearing with us, and I'll see you again in the next video.